Never mind. I clicked the wrong button. We're good now. We're recording correctly.
Okay, but right. Should I re-record?
No, we're good. Just roll with it.
All right.
We also
go.
Okay.
All right. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Mikey.
No, you're Kareem.
But Mikey's at the World Series.
I think he means I play at the poker.
And you just went out of turn. Ah.
All right, well, that was synced.
Worst
that was synced.
joke ever.
Hey, you know what? This is actually a great way to set up future expectations for future knock knocks. It'll get this good.
All right. Here we go. First YouTube. Let's get a little intro, baby.
Oh, so Brent just decided he's going to change the order all of a sudden, and no, go ahead, Brent. Cool. And welcome to the CryptoBasic podcast. This is Flagship Friday. It's going to be July 6th, 2018. I'm here with Brent Philbin.
Hey, what's up? What's up?
No. And Kareem Baruch.
I want to be able to do sound clips. Brent, I'm going to be sending you sound clips to play for me.
Oh, great.
Exciting. For those of you who are not familiar, the Flagship is our weekly discussion. We cover current events and topics and other nonsense that gets tossed around in the cryptocurrency space. So, Brent, you and I had some thinking the other day, and we just decided we're just going to spring a giveaway out of nowhere without Kareem's permission. What happened?
Yeah, so I don't know why we didn't think of that before we did, but it was like the wee hours of the morning where Kareem is normally asleep and dreaming of like sugar plums, and we were talking to each other, which he shouldn't let us do, and we decided, hey, let's give away 1% of Mike's World Series of Poker action to podcast listeners. We tweeted it out. We're using this like different thing where you get entries for different things you can do. Like you can follow us on Twitter, get an entry. There's 10 total things you can do. You can do any one of them or all of them, totally up to you. And that's how we ended up with, I don't know, something like 50 subscribers to a YouTube channel that didn't have any videos. So
I gotta say, that's the most impressive thing so far. 50 people have dedicated to subscribe to our stuff, and we've literally we don't even have an image up for our header. We don't even have. It's literally just like it's like the Twitter egg account that has 0 follows, and it's just like doing it.
Which, by the way, is probably a good opportunity. If you're seeing this on YouTube and you've never listened to the podcast, this is obviously our first YouTube video. We do have a podcast that we've been running for a while. We've covered a bunch of projects and everything. So more than likely, that's where those 50 people are coming from. People who've already found us through the podcast medium, and you should definitely check that out if you haven't. But we are going to be bringing more of that stuff to YouTube. We know that we have always wanted to have a presence in this space, and we wanted to get other things done, but now, especially with Brent figuring out how to mutually record for YouTube, and then we'll do the editing for the audio a little later. So, guys, from what we discussed, it's basically going to end up being where YouTube is like more kind of raw and off the cuff because we're not very good at video editing, and then our audio version will be more polished, right?
Yeah, I think that's like what everybody is looking for, and I've noticed it in myself over time. Like, I enjoy the real, authentic versions of people, and we're going to give it to you raw, and we're going to say some things we're going to regret, but hey, that's going to be life.
Yeah, Kareem's going to get up to pee like 4 times in the middle of the episode. You're going to get to see that finally and feel our pain.
I'm going to fight it a little more now. That
Yeah, he's got a lot of pressure,
I didn't care what you guys thought.
His bladder's going to shrink up real quick.
So, yeah, we can't promise anything, but we think we're going to try to put at least all the flagships on YouTube, so you'll have the option for either one. But back to that giveaway, Mike. If you're listening to this now and you haven't entered the giveaway, there's still time. You can do it until Sunday. Mike is still in the event. We're recording this Thursday night. He bagged up 90-something thousand?
93,000.
93,000 in tournament units, which is almost double what you start with after one day of the World Series Poker, definitely putting him above average. So he's in a better spot than even when we started this giveaway. And getting into the money will probably happen sometime right around when you can't enter this contest anymore. So go to cryptobasicpodcast.com/WSOP or click the show notes, either one, and enter. We want to give away. If Mike wins this thing, it's $88,000 that we're giving away. So,
and Brent, I'm wondering here, like, since this is essentially free money, I'm assuming it's really difficult to enter, or that there's some kind of fee or something like that.
No, it's easy. Literally, most of you are already doing the things that you need to do to enter. If you already follow us on Twitter, that's worth one. You just go to the thing. It's the easiest thing in the world. You click each button and you're good.
What I like about this was that it gives the ability to add zero effort to people that already support us. And it's almost like a little checklist of like things that are cool that we would like you to do for us. And if you do them, great. And we appreciate it.
Yep.
Easy. All right, guys. So we've been talking about ourselves for 5 minutes. I feel like that's a good cue to talk about other things, and then we can come back later and talk a little bit more about ourselves, towards the end.
Thank you, Kareem.
Give the audience a break.
That's an excellent transition, because the next topic, the individual loves himself more than anybody else on planet Earth. Phil Hellmuth entered the main event.
Yes.
On a similar level, buddy.
I promise I was trying to find a way to merge it, and I just decided it was going to derail, and I decided to go for the safe, solid route. But I'm glad you guys were on the same page as me. So Hellmuth has a history of grand entrances. He's come in dressed as Julius Caesar before. He always likes to make a scene. He's one of the biggest narcissists in all of poker. And he came in representing a cryptocurrency that we've already covered here.
Okay, so I have a quick request for you guys. Let's together, real quick, remember that a lot of our audience isn't necessarily well-versed in poker. This is our world. So why don't we think of a big name, a big-time celebrity or athlete that is very comparable, like that they're very good, but also that their personality matches Hellmuth, so that our non-poker listeners can have an idea of what kind of... We're talking about somebody who's flamboyant, who's very controversial, who's respected for their skill in general. Can we think of some?
John McEnroe's an easy one for tennis. It's super easy comparison there.
Right. Maybe like a Terrell Owens character. Is that maybe not so good? Maybe but one of these kind of diva style.
Yeah, I think T.O.'s not bad. And I'm really drawing blanks, man. Nobody is as polarizing as Hellmuth is. And I actually... we're going to get into this story a little more. He entered wearing the V-Chain, a Thor outfit, and holding a hammer that had the V-Chain logo on it. And that's, obviously it's a crypto that we're interested in. What I like about this is that it is, he's an attention grabber. He's always been, he's done commercials for fast food restaurants in the Southwest. Carl's Jr., I believe it was. I'm not that familiar with him in Florida. He's also run or been a major part of a large poker site that went bankrupt and stole a ton of money from a lot of customers, with Ultimate Bet. So, I feel like he's the black sheep of poker. He's this weird guy that most professionals truly don't understand why he's popular. I'm trying to think of maybe Tony Stewart in NASCAR kind of makes a little bit of sense. John Daly in golf would be a pretty good example.
It's tough to say this because it sounds very arrogant or elitist, but it's kind of like he's very popular, but he's one of these figures that appeals to the lowest common denominator of a particular community. We also see it with maybe some very mainstream pop singers or rappers that don't have any depth to their lyrics. They're just kind of like...
He is 100% the basic bitch of poker players.
He's the bad baby of poker.
Bad baby. Well, you got a little history. But anyway.
His nickname's the Poker Brat. It's...
Right, and he's proud of that nickname.
He's demeaning to people at the table. He's disrespectful. He's been blatantly racist on TV before. I just don't like this guy. I hate that he always gets press, and I really would rather this guy not even be associated with our space.
Yeah,
I used to be conflicted. Go ahead, Brent.
And it's also important to note, like Mike said, he was part of a site that went bankrupt, went defunct, and stole everybody's money, and comparable to a lot of the different cryptosphere things. So his endorsement of VeChain is absolutely not anything to look at the company as being good. He called it VE chain, so he literally has no idea what he was endorsing. He was just wearing the hammer and walking around going, "Hey, I'm Phil Hellmuth." But
so the last two things I'll say is, first of all, I agree with you, Brian. Phil Hellmuth is definitely the type that he's just going to wear whatever somebody pays him. It doesn't hold any reputational weight whatsoever.
To us, it does to a lot of the world, a lot of the lower level poker.
Understood. I'm saying that I agree with Brent's opinion that his endorsement doesn't carry weight. It just means that he got paid well. And then the second thing I'll say about Phil is I used to be more torn on him. The good thing I'll say about him is that obviously he's not one of the top players in the space, but when you look at his results, I do think that people hate him so much that they tend to undervalue what he has accomplished. He's still like one of the most successful players in history. And I guess the main thing that bothers me about him and why I'm not break even, why I do dislike him, is because he commits the cardinal sin, in my opinion, for a professional poker player. He berates amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stand it. It's the worst thing. It's the worst sportsmanship. I don't care so much about the attention grabbing. I don't care so much that whatever. But he berates amateurs.
I just had an epiphany. We can tie this right into last week's podcast. If you're interested to find out who Phil Hellmuth is, and you enjoyed a little bit of listening to Ruthless on last week's show,
oh my god, oh my god, I forgot about this. Oh, this is perfect.
They are on
Check
ESPN,
notes,
like 8 years ago, and Phil just goes off on Adam. And at the same time, they were sponsored by the same site.
Brent, do you have a way to look up that audio and play a clip of it? Well, it's
you got to see it. You got to see it.
Well, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that's in the show notes.
I want to say this is like from 2006 or 2007. So Adam is a lot younger than he is now, and this video is real. It's like a 40-year-old man like berating like a 25-year-old kid.
Yep.
And it's just like unbelievable.
For nothing. For playing the hand in a completely standard
poker.
way that Phil Hellmuth just got unlucky on. But yeah, I'll make sure to put that in the show notes.
It's absolutely embarrassing. All right, let's move on from this, please.
Enough poker, enough Hellmuth. That's it.
So, Kareem, you came across an article that it kind of was analyzing, what cryptos and the future could look like. What did you get from this?
Yeah, it was looking at the title of the article was basically saying over 600 cryptos have now been defunct. So there's actually a website dedicated to it. It's called deadcoins.com, and it just keeps a long list of coins that were scams, exit scams, coins that got hacked, the value went to zero. Also some parody coins in there, not every single coin in there was a legitimate project, but still the number of defunct coins is already at over 635. And if you look at the failure rate for a lot of these coins overall, we're looking at like 30%. Right now, if a coin launches an ICO, they're looking at a chance of total failure of approximately 30%. And yet, even though you have a high failure rate, and even though we are very much in a bear market, in 2017, there was $5.5 billion raised. And in 2018, already a little bit over halfway through the year, we're at 12 billion. So if you look at that proportionally, that's almost like a fourfold increase because we're only halfway through the year, even though crypto's struggling. So it shows that there's still a lot of enthusiasm.
I'm curious on your response to these numbers. Most of these models don't raise US dollars. So it seems very difficult to track this in US dollars. Don't you agree?
No, because you could just estimate it. Since the US dollar is the global reserve currency, I would say most articles or amounts to raise can, Oh, you're saying that because a lot of it was raised in Ethereum.
Yeah, let's say they raised like 1,000 Ethereum. Like I don't know. That's isn't that really hard to determine how much the company would raise?
Right. My guess is that they're looking at how much they raised at the time. That's a very interesting point to make. But dollars are still the best benchmark, right?
Sure. No, I understand that completely. But even we've talked about this as a podcast. We've considered, not having any of our assets in crypto just because we're a small business and we'd rather have the security of not having the fluctuations. But, I just find this interesting. If if certain projects were raised certain amount of money when ETH was like 1100, which it was for a significant amount of time during ICO process, and then now it's like 400 or something, like how much did they really raise? Like, I don't know.
Sure, but you know what though, Mike? The only thing I'll say is that even though there is a discrepancy that you're pointing out, in this particular example, it actually exacerbates the difference, because last year crypto was doing a little bit better off, and right now we've been slumping, and still you're seeing
that's a good point.
The number right now is bigger, so
well, I think it goes without saying that there's significant more interest in crypto year over year. I don't think there's people that are really
and more ICOs
other than occasional spectators, speculators.
Yeah. So, and then one more thing that is the reason why I wanted to bring this up. I know we may have touched on this a little bit, but I just thought it was cool. It came up again about the SEC doing this fake ICO where, it doesn't look super realistic. Anybody that has decent research chops would never invest in it. But people still fall for it, and they had it so that once you actually want to go give them money, once that you're like, oh, where can I put it up? It just takes you directly to an investor FAQ on like how to look for red flags, how to watch out for skims, and it was really cool.
And listen,
that's the kind of stuff I believe in. That's what government should be using their money on.
Well, that's why we made an episode on how we did our research, and you can go back and listen to that if you're a new listener and didn't get a chance to check that out. We talked about our thought process because it is something that a lot of people are curious on, and it changed my perspective on a ton of things just talking with Kareem and Brent. Just because we're comparing notes and I'm learning from this side and I'm using different resources, I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I also would like to point out, it is weird. You're right about how they determine the US dollars. As long as they're doing it the same across the entire article, the comparison makes sense. But Ethereum was significantly lower most of the year last year. So, like 2017, the beginning, it was like $30. So I'm not sure how they're doing that comparison, but also,
but you can see that even if we just know that if Ethereum was $30 at some point in these two models and it was $1,400 at some point in these two models, there's a huge difference there.
Yeah, we don't really know where they're coming up with their numbers. I will say that the ICOs dumping their Ethereum, not dumping, but using it to get US dollars because they have to get US dollars to pay developers and to pay to get things going, probably has a non-zero effect on the bear market. Like we had a lot. It has
a massive impact, and I think that's a very solid reason why the market is struggling, because a lot of these assets need to be redistributed, liquidated. So
yeah, there's never any one reason, but this probably has, like I said, some measurable effect on it. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I just think it's relevant. I'm not saying it's huge. All right, Brent, you wanted to go a little bit into details on something Coinbase is offering. What exactly are they doing?
So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on this, but they have activated Coinbase Custody, which is essentially making Coinbase the middleman for institutional investing. They have set up, I assume, something that is insured in some way, that a way for institutional investors to come to them and say, we want to put this much money into a fund, into a hedge fund, an ETF, whatever, and we don't really understand how to handle it, so you guys are going to do it. And the minimum to get in on Coinbase's custody is $10 million. So you have to be at least $10 million in. Apparently, they've got around $10 billion ready to go. So it's good in the sense that institutional investing is coming into the market, and that's a lot of money flooding in. But it's also giving Coinbase a lot of power. And we generally feel like they're good for a new investor and how they handle things, but you never know. Maybe at some point, $10 billion might be enough for them to cut and run. I don't know. I'm sure there's a check and balance here, but always a cautionary tale.
I think that's like a completely ridiculous side comment to make.
I mean, so many crypto exchanges have done it that it's just it's important. They have some sort of license in the US now though. So I haven't followed that enough, but
I looked over the service options and I've decided to pass. I will use my $10 million on other
Could you imagine? Could you imagine being a guy that's like, you know what? I'm gonna throw $1 million at this crypto thing, and they're like, if you get 9 of your friends together, you can combine into one. And I'm just like, what?
Mike, why don't you win enough at the WSOP?
If I win the main event,
Coinbase Custody.
Yay!
All right. Hey, Kareem. So it seems as though Kraken and Bloomberg have been beefing a little bit. What are the details here?
All right. So this is how it started. A long, long time ago, in a not so long ago galaxy, listen, in this galaxy, Bloomberg wrote an article claiming that Tether was being manipulated on Kraken.
No. Tether is. There's no way anybody would manipulate Tether.
Right. No way anybody would manipulate Tether. No way there would be any manipulation in cryptocurrency in particular.
No.
Anyway,
it's a safe space.
So then Kraken responds with the following statement.
They clear their throat first?
Quote, if we are to take up our pitchforks against market manipulation, guide your torches towards disillumination. The Bloomberg News piece was published on June 29th, the last business day of trading for quarter 2, and the expiration date of numerous futures contracts. It raises red flags. Translation, since futures is trading where, don't forget, this is where two people are trading, betting on what they think the future price of an asset's going to be. So they're betting that it's either going to go up, which means to go long, or to go down, which means to go short. So Kraken was basically implying that the article by Bloomberg was designed to like drop the price of Bitcoin and make profits for those who had shortened it.
Shorts.
And then, correct. And then Bloomberg made 2 allegations about Kraken on their Tether article. They're saying that some of the smaller trades had a bigger difference in the price of Tether than some of the bigger trades. To be honest with you, I don't even understand how that would work. And then the second argument was a little weak, in my opinion, that there was a large number of trades with very specific order sizes that are unlikely to be human. So then Kraken responds with saying, well, number one, our total trading volume in a 24-hour period is $1 million. So we're not big enough to be affecting the price of Tether. English mess up of the day. And then they talked to the trader responsible for the quote unquote weird number, which was $13,076 and 30.3890. And the person said that the number was literally randomly selected. So, long story short, Bloomberg was all like, there's manipulation on Kraken. And then Kraken was all like, we manipulate. You're Bloomberg. You manipulate. And then everybody was like, welcome to crypto.
All right. I have several comments here. One, yeah, there's bots trading all over the place. That's obvious. I know, like, I've witnessed lots of very unusual trading that it seems like an automatic. So let's go ahead and just assume that there's trading going on between bots. I mean, yeah, I think this is easily, just FUD from both sides. They're just like throwing stuff at each other. I think this article very easily could have been self-motivated. We know there's a lot of motivation in Wall Street of people going short. And when the stakes are so high, an article like this might swing, the situation in a different direction. I think that this is just something we're going to have to get used to, in my opinion.
So Bloomberg is the one that has that like subscription that you have to pay like $10,000 a year to get, right? Where they release all of their news to you first before they release it on their website.
Oh, that sounds shady as shit.
I think it's them. It's called like The Wire or something, and it's literally for investors. And
that's the most Wall Street shit I've ever heard, by the way.
They release all of their market information to that first before they release it to the general public. So that's I don't even know how that's legal, but if it's not Bloomberg, it's one of the big financial news sites.
Brett. If anybody's got $10,000, it's open information. Yeah. Like why would that be illegal?
Yeah, what's wrong? Yeah.
So also,
unbelievable.
Based on what I didn't look into this, but based on what Kareem just said, Kraken didn't deny it. They literally just whataboutismed, and they're like, oh, yeah? Well, you guys are just trying to get better futures. So,
That's a good point.
So
yeah, I mean, yeah, they said that they couldn't possibly influence the market because they only have $1 million in trading volume. That's definitely not a denial of interesting activity as much as they kind of like a dismissal
I don't
of their
know.
overall influence.
I kind of like when I'm accused of something that I can't prove. Like, there's no way for them to prove that they aren't doing this, right? Like, you're guilty in the mind of the accuser, and there's no, like, it's kind of like when your girlfriend accuses you of cheating on her. Like, if you didn't cheat on her, you literally have no way to be like, hey, I didn't do that. That's kind of how I feel Kraken's situation is. If I were Kraken, how can I prove that I didn't do that? I mean, I would probably have to turn it around at some point. Like, I'm in a corner. I did nothing wrong. What can I do?
But you could still have a statement to the negative. You could say, well, we're not manipulating the market. We are absolutely innocent of everything you just said. Maybe you should look at yourselves. And then...
I mean, Kareem took the most interesting thing that he thought and put it on here. There's probably a lot more to this statement, in my opinion.
Maybe. I guess I didn't read the entire statement. You know, this was kind of a condensation of an article. But I will say this. You see the Overton window move so much because even though this is going to sound ridiculous... another option would be to not have Tether on your exchange when you know that it's not solvent, basically. But I know that it's an unfair expectation because basically everybody accepts Tether. But at the end of the day, really, that should actually be a critique that the public can make. Just look at an exchange and be like, you guys are using a unbacked currency in order to boost trading.
Kareem, I'm curious about something, and it seems like a nightmare to delist a coin that probably has as much of that asset on your network as that coin does. I don't know if I were Binance and we were sitting in a meeting and it was like, hey, we want to delist Tether. I don't even know what the right steps would be.
You give everybody $1 for every Tether that they have once you have access to fiat trading.
Yeah, or you slowly delist pairs so that you make Tether less and less useful.
There you go. Okay, you found. Okay, that's an excellent way to do it. Boom. So speaking of Binance, hold up, we're gonna redo that one. We're not speaking of Binance. We're about to speak about Binance.
Hi YouTube.
So,
we were speaking of.
This is what I do all the time that the podcast listeners do not get to appreciate because this gets edited out a lot. So,
yep.
Another exchange similar to Kraken is Binance, and they had another hack recently, and this raised a lot of questions. I thought the story was pretty interesting. Brent, what did you find so far?
So I imagine there's more stuff to come out about this, and in fact there may have been. I researched this about 6 hours ago. We're recording this on Thursday night, so
super rare, by the way.
Yeah. This is Mike's in Vegas. He's 3 hours back, and he had to like eat a buffet and get pretty today. So this is
I ate a very lovely buffet and I went to the spa and I feel very pretty. Thank you.
Listen, I'd be doing the exact same thing if I were you.
Look, we're doing video. I had to bring the best for the listeners, you know.
Mike, are you meditating in the morning?
I have been, yes.
Nice.
Wow, way to kill that.
I use Headspace.
So Binance had another hack attempt, and what happened here is one Syscoin, which before this happened was trading at 22 cents, traded for 96 Bitcoin. So it just, I saw a video of this where it shows like the trading going and it just goes and makes the rest of the lines look like nothing. But something happened there. The trading was suspended and withdrawals were suspended. I'm not sure that they caught this in time, because every other time that they've caught this in time, they've said, we caught the guy. Here's what we did. Here's how we did it. So far now, and again, please don't murder me on this. More information may have come out, but as of 6 hours ago,
please don't murder Brent for anything, including this.
As of 6 hours ago, funds are safe was put up on the Twitter by CZ, which is at this point is kind of his catchphrase because the funds are always safe. And it was an API style attack, very similar to the other ones, where the way APIs work, something like Coinigy or something like that, you are letting a third party have access to your account and make trades on your behalf so that you can use their software to your advantage in some way. So there's an API out there that was able to execute this trade on its own and get the 96 Bitcoin into its own hands in some fashion. So be very careful on exchanges. You're already trusting exchanges when you get on an exchange, but you need to do that if you want to purchase these coins. But trusting an API suite, even as simple as like Delta or cointracking.info, they have API access where they say they can't make trades for you, but if you're not a coder, it's hard for you to look at that and trust it. Now, I understand that those two particular sites, coders have looked at them, maybe not so much Delta, but definitely Cointracking. So, do your own research on that stuff, but realize you are taking a risk when you activate APIs on these sites. Now, even if Binance didn't catch this in time and let it go, they're clearly covering it. So they said funds are safe, everything's cool. I'm just interested to know whether they caught this person because they are usually so active about explaining that they got him. So, but either way, I believe that nobody is in any situation where they're going to lose money. That 96 Bitcoin will be given back to the person who made the trade.
Brent, it's kind of interesting. Like, I feel like we've a little bit slightly had to change our tune a little bit. Like, I think there's some people that, if they have small balances, I think Binance might be safer than a lot of external options.
Oh, there's definitely people, especially if you're like not super savvy with computers and you don't understand what you're doing when you're using a Ledger or MyEther wallet. If you're the grandma that's going in and getting involved in crypto, Coinbase is a perfect place for you to go and be protected. And then if you're going a step further and getting your toes wet with altcoins, Binance is probably the safest place for you to be. I leave a little bit of money on Binance, and I feel comfortable with it. But again, we've said this before. If you have the know-how, the amount of money that you're allowed to leave on an exchange is the amount of money that you would not cry if you lost. If you'd cry if you lost it or have suicidal thoughts, if that money was gone the next day, do not leave it on an exchange. Simple.
And also, obviously, amounts are relevant. If you have $300 or $400 that you are investing in cryptocurrency, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense maybe to spend $120 on a Ledger Nano, there's really nothing wrong with that. Like, maybe make that a goal, that if that crypto really blows up, that one of the first things you do is buy one to secure it or something. But it's going to be pretty hard for whatever you calculate the risk of losing your funds to be, it's low enough on Binance that it doesn't make sense for your security measure, let's say a Ledger, to be 10 to 20 to 30% of your portfolio. So if you find yourself in that spot, for sure, use Binance.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the funds are safe video? There's two videos. I think they were done by the same people, or else they were done in the same style. The first one was like the Swedish dude or some sort of, he might not have been Swedish, it's Scandinavian of some kind, where they're like, okay, and it's like a weird computery voice where they're like, okay, he bought the coin, clash it, and there's like this stupid cartoon that goes with it. There's one with CZ from Binance.
This is some high-level research, ladies and gentlemen.
No, everybody's seen these videos. Most of the listeners have seen this video. I promise you that. So there's this video where
I'd love to make a poll of that. I would love to make a poll of that.
They've seen it. Comment in the Discord that you've seen this video. Prove me right.
No, absolutely not. Comment in the Discord if you have not seen this video.
So it's CZ from Binance, and this guy's like logging into his account, and he's like, oh no, something's wrong. And then CZ goes on Twitter, and he's like, funds are safer. And he's got this thing. And
funds are safer. I'm watching it right now.
So because it's like every time this happens, he just goes on Twitter. He's like, funds are safe. And I think they're making fun of his accent there, because when he says safe, it sounds like safer. And he has seen the video and he has posted with an H on the end of safe just to like make fun of the fact that he's seen the video. So I don't know. I thought it was cool.
awesome.
I'll put the video in the show notes for the one or two listeners that haven't seen it.
That story delivered more than I expected, but I think Brett only lives in his own reality and thinks anything he's seen the entire world is also seen.
Well,
yeah, I'm not that.
That's literally not the case.
Hold on a second. We're about to have an objective ruling. 169,590 views.
That's more than all of our podcast listens combined.
All right, Kraken. Would you say, do you expect that number to be higher or lower? Or I don't know. Like, does that matter to you? Like, I don't think this.
You know what? It's got a good ratio. It's a good video. It might be popular. I've seen more viral. I don't know.
How long has it been posted? How long has it been posted? I think that's a pretty key one.
May 19th.
Okay, a month and a half. Then I'll give Brent a little more likelihood of being right here.
Actually, this is a relevant stat. 7.8 thousand upvotes. Less than 60 downvotes. That is a solid ratio.
And every single Reddit thread that involves a Binance hack, all the top comments are that. They're referencing it. So it's
we forgot Brent's tribalism on Reddit. All right, let's get on to another topic here. Kareem, so this is a little bit of an interesting story involving Western Union and cryptocurrency. What's going on?
Yeah, so the big news here is that Western Union filed a patent that is related to cryptocurrency, and one of the reasons why it made news is because they made no mention of Ripple. So why Ripple? Well, back in January, Ripple announced that they were going to have a big partnership with 3 of the world's largest money transfer services. And since that time, we've had Western Union and MoneyGram independently come forward and basically confirm that they are one of those partners. But then a couple of months back, the CEO of Western Union gave an interview to Fortune magazine where he made a couple of statements that made it seem like he wasn't super happy with the way the pilot program with Ripple had worked out. And specifically, he said, quote, "We are always criticized that Western Union is not cost efficient, blah, blah, blah. But we did not see the part of the efficiency yet during our tests. The practical matter is it's still too expensive." So that was his comment. Then the senior vice president at Ripple, Ashish Birla, responded to that and sent a statement to Fortune magazine, and he was criticizing Ripple, where he said, quote, "If they were going to move volume at scale, then maybe we would see something. But with 10 transactions, it's not surprising that they're not seeing cost savings. They do millions of transactions a month, and I'm not surprised that with 10 transactions, it didn't have earth-shattering results." So it looks like the Ripple guys being like, you haven't even given Ripple a chance. You can't say that you haven't had good results. So that's more or less been the back and forth up until now. Ripple has only been used by Western Union for transfers between US dollar and the Mexican peso. So Western Union now applied for a patent, and it didn't mention Ripple. So a lot of people are like, oh my God, this means that they're moving away from Ripple, that they're done with them. But that's not necessarily the case, because no matter what Western Union does, there's a good chance that they wouldn't specifically mention Ripple on their patent, because there's no reason for them to narrow themselves down. But they have put in a patent for a tech that outlines a system that manages transfer notifications and secure payments. From some of the articles I read, it looks like there was a lot of emphasis on security, which makes sense when you consider that Western Union has the largest amount of money remittances out of any company. And either way, the patent shows that, comments aside, Western Union still sees a path going forward with cryptocurrency. And as far as adoption goes, obviously, Western Union using cryptocurrency would be a major step forward for, we're talking about remittances, we're talking about money transfers, we're talking about an international company. So,
how much of that is going to be saved down to the customer is yet to be seen.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
Western Union's fees are really high.
Western Union is 100% going to do this for themselves, but Why would they change their fee? Like, this is back end stuff that they're going to change. It doesn't necessarily need to change the front end process for the customer.
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. And what usually happens here, so in theory, right? In theory, in a capitalist free market, what we should see is that if enough people have been able to lower their cost, one of them will eventually pass on that cost to the consumer, and therefore the competitors will be forced to match that decrease in price. But what really ends up happening in a lot of these markets is they tend to be cornered and non-competitive. This can happen when you have a monopoly or an oligopoly. So you see that a lot in cable, news, maybe airlines, something like that. So what will be interesting is, yes, Western Union will probably initially try to internalize all of the cost saving. The question is, how popular will crypto remittances in general go, and how many other institutions like banks will pass on the cost in such a way that Western Union has no choice but to lower costs or to be phased out of business.
Yeah, are they going to be Kodak, or are Blockbuster, or are they going to be Netflix?
That's right. That's right.
And a lot of financial institutions are going to have to make that exact same decision here shortly, and it looks like Western Union's making it so that they at least have the option to make the right decision. So interesting. Again, no reason they should be stuck with Ripple. If they were to compare Ripple with Stellar and want to use Stellar instead, why can't they? So yeah, that's that. I don't think there's, as much as we like to talk smack about Ripple, I don't think this is a knock on Ripple if Western Union's not talking about them. They're just they just realized, turns out there's more than just Ripple in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and you know what, actually, when I was reading this article, it struck me as a little bit of good news, not just trying to hate on Ripple. But we don't like Ripple, obviously, because it's so centralized, right? But one of the strategies that might backfire is that it seems like Ripple's primary advantage is that they moved very quickly in securing relationships with big-time banks and big institutions, which is great. But the entire industry seems to be moving in the direction of interoperability and of almost everybody eventually trying to move towards the goal of making it possible for you to transfer whatever you want to transfer. So if you go to an institution that says, hey, we only do Ripple, when the other 8 institutions that use the service can, hey, you want to do Bitcoin, Litecoin, no problem. They're all easy for us, right? So it might be that the forces of the market make Ripple's primary advantage less relevant, and therefore Ripple itself has less influence over the crypto space in general, and it might give an opportunity for some of these decentralized cryptocurrencies to basically undercut that goal, which I think would be good for us in the long run.
Right. And as I've said from the beginning when we've been talking about Ripple, like, I understand why people or businesses are appealed by it. It's like, oh, great, you want to help us figure this out and do the work, the nuts and bolts, great. But, when your product is inferior to other products, in my opinion, or there's problems that have come up along the way, yeah, everybody's gonna shop around. It's almost as if I can't even think of a good example off the top of my head, but this seems inevitable from all companies, right?
Yeah, well, and it certainly happens that I think a lot of times technology as an arc where it's just going to have a particular, like, this is how it's going to evolve. But I think it's actually not like that. Some things take off and some things don't. Like, it could have been VHS, it could have been Betamax, it could have been DVD or Blu-ray. Like, there's all kinds of examples where a particular technology took off. Solar, I remember the episode of Cosmos where, like, solar was really invented in the early 20th century, late 20th century, and it could have taken off earlier. But then all of a sudden oil got big and the war started and it was just kind of put on the back burner. So my fear with something like Ripple is that we're in such an early stage of the cryptocurrency space that if in the next 10 years Ripple becomes super powerful and super influential, their culture and their technology and their structure can influence the space. And vice versa, if they become less relevant and decentralized projects become the norm, then they will influence the space. So it's like the future's not written in stone, and I want the projects with good ideals leading the charge if possible.
One of the things that seems interesting to me, a part of this evolution, and we've talked about this on many episodes, is going to be the evolution of trust in general. And I'm just kind of thinking about, if I don't have any international family, so I'm trying to think of any situation where I would need to use a Western Union type service. If I were just randomly in a position where I needed to, then what I would do is I would go to a local Walmart or whatever hub it would have to offer these services. I don't know where a Western Union is, and I don't even know what exact services they offer. I think they even have their own. So I think that's where the mass adoption is going to start, and that's where the centralized locations are going to be able to control which options you're going to have for crypto, because let's face it, like most people are not going to go out of their way to save enough money and do every little bit of research on every little thing in their life. They just don't have the time and the energy for it. So it's going to be interesting to see what the bigger businesses harness as the options and what they decide to do with the fees, especially if we happen to know what the fees are looking like behind the scenes on the blockchain.
Yep, that makes total sense. I will say one more thing about Ripple. Their current PR, and we mentioned this before, is that they are becoming more decentralized. We'll do an update one day on Ripple and give them a fair shake and really look into everything they're saying. For now, our baseline research has said that it is a talking point and nothing more. So, just a fair mention there. We will do more due diligence on that in the future.
Yeah, Ripple telling me that it's getting more decentralized is like when a politician tells me they're passing a law because of farmers. No, you're not. Stop it.
Unless their family owns that farm. All right, speaking of which, let's move it to crypto from around the world.
Attention please. This is the final call.
Well, hopefully you guys are getting
Hopefully you heard
this copy than Mike and I.
Yes, I heard
really?
about 40% of that drop.
Yeah.
Wait, should I try it again?
Kareem, did you know? No, I don't know. Probably not.
Whatever. I'll just put, if it doesn't come out right, I'll put in the regular drop.
Kareem, did you know Daft Punk showed up at Electric Forest while we were there?
No, don't say that to me.
He did.
Where?
He was in the RV section. He was on the
They played?
I think they played the Wednesday night that we showed up in the RVs.
What? That's one of my dreams, is to see them live. Oh man. But it was a great festival though. I still saw a bunch of awesome people. It was cool.
I had a blast. So let's move on to the crypto around the world section. The least surprising section of the day, Brent wants to talk about Thailand. What's going on?
Well, there is a new Thai restaurant opened in Gainesville here that is, according to my girlfriend, the most authentic Thai restaurant that she's ever been.
What?
Oh, nope. I just realized I was talking about the wrong thing. I was talking about Thailand.
Oh, I see what you did there.
And I meant to talk about Thailand.
By the way, is there any truth to that authentic thing? Because I would love to try.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the only place she's ever seen this particular noodle called Duty, which I've never seen at a Thai restaurant before either. But it's called Duty noodles, and they're brand new here.
Brett,
here's what I want.
Brett, you tried to Duty noodles, and you would like them.
I want us to go, and I want to go with JJ, and then I want her to like order just a bunch of stuff on the menu, and then I just want to go to town.
Yep, and you won't understand any of it, and because that's she does two things. One, sometimes she pretends that she can't speak Thai so that she can hear them like talk smack. And then the other time she'll just like do it right away and try to get discounts. So
that's really interesting that she would pretend to not know Thai, because like, okay, yeah, sometimes I don't speak Spanish right off the bat and I look Middle Eastern, but like what is she trying to pass off as?
No, like, she looks Chinese.
Oh, okay.
Her parents are Chinese, so she doesn't look a total complete Thai.
Hold on. You have to assume that somebody looks as Asian as your girlfriend is from somewhere in that region. Like she may not speak your exact language, but she might know something close. That seems like a hard one to pull off.
She said she's heard some like real bad stuff from the people at like Eddie Hill's Sushi Thai back in Fort Lauderdale.
I've actually always thought how cool
we're
it would
dropping
be.
names here.
I I've always wondered how cool it would be to just know an absurd language that like I look like I would never know. Like,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
could
know,
learn Spanish.
or like Mandarin Chinese, and I could just like be a fly on the wall. And that could be fascinating.
Since you live in Florida, I would recommend Spanish as well. But anyway, so besides the food, Brent, what else is going on in Thailand?
Thailand has approved 7 cryptocurrencies, and they've also announced that they're going to allow ICOs within certain regulations. So they have had a complete cryptocurrency ban up until this point. The 7 currencies are Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Litecoin, Ripple, and Stellar. So that's what they've chosen as their 7 that are okay. And if you end up passing the test of being allowed to be an ICO that they're going to let their citizens invest in, then the maximum anyone is allowed to invest is about the equivalent of $9,000. So not going to drive a whole lot of market movement, but always good to see a municipality that was completely anti-crypto reverse their stance.
I don't like how you kind of like acted like 9K was kind of nothing. It's probably 9K goes a long way in Thailand.
Yeah, no. But it's nothing in the grand scheme of like people investing in the $4 billion that EOS raised or whatever.
I mean,
all right. So I predicted that this conversation was about to take place, and I went to go do some math. The average income in Thailand is around $3,300. So this is a maximum of about 3 times the average income, since the United States has an average income of about $58,000 a year. Proportionally, that would be like a $174,000 limit in the U.S. for an individual.
Damn.
Kareem, you're on my side, guy. I knew you would be.
I agree that this is a lot of money for Thailand.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I'm pretty sure that Brent's position was that this isn't a low cap for them, simply that without a lot of money coming from Thailand, you shouldn't expect that to move the international markets.
Yeah.
Sure. No, I just think that I interpreted it as like he was saying, oh, it's like they can only do 9,000, like they're putting the handcuffs on the citizens and
right.
No, they probably are. Yeah. This is probably a good thing. I imagine that based on the ban, most Thai people don't know much about cryptocurrency, so they shouldn't be like blasting off their entire life savings in ICOs.
Well, but
I wish there was a cap here.
Yeah, really, this is a fairly large number for this these people, and
yeah, three time average.
Unfortunately, people might get hurt, but that's all right. Some people have to learn, and other people should do well.
No ICOs are approved yet. Maybe depending on how reasonable their equivalent of the SEC, I think it actually is even called the SEC there, is looking at these projects. I mean, the 7 that they picked are all fine. Yeah. Maybe
I'm happy to see Ethereum Classic on there.
Yeah. Maybe it's a good indication if an ICO passes the test of Thailand that they might be a good project. Might be interesting to take an extra look at something that Thailand says this ICO is good to go. Or they got paid. I don't know.
Yeah, until the story comes out that some official got paid.
Yeah, I mean.
I wanted to do a transition involving the geography of Thailand and South Korea until I realized I had literally no idea how close they were to each other.
They're not close.
All right, excellent.
South Korea's up north.
Okay, yeah, I think I have the visual now. So they're doing a new classification system, and they are recognizing crypto in a very specific way. Kareem, what did you find here?
Yeah, so this is really good. Now that Trump fixed everything in Korea, they've been able to move forward with important stuff like crypto.
Korea.
So that... yeah, but he fixed the peninsula and stuff. Yeah, everything's good now.
It's all good.
So
he just wants his people to salute him like Kim's people salute him.
Yeah, they stand up when he walks in. Good stuff. What do I gotta? What do I need to do? I did the concentration tricks. That didn't work. It just got mad. All right, sorry. Okay.
No. Behind the scenes, Trump's he's like, all right, guys, crazy pitch. How do I run for North Korean dictator? That seems like a way cooler job than this president thing. Anywho.
Somebody
All
get
right, so
Dennis Rodman on the phone.
So South Korea has announced a classification system for blockchain-related industries. So this is the first time that the government officially recognizes crypto exchanges as part of the industry. So here's more or less how the classifications are going to go. We don't have all the details. This is like going to be finalized towards the end of the month. Right now, they are taking the opinions of 160 different institutions, and they're kind of compiling everything. But here's some examples. So exchanges are going to be under the category of asset exchange and brokerage. Platforms like EOS or NEO or Ethereum are going to be blockchain-based system software development and supply businesses.
Or BBSSDSB for short.
Correct. Although I'm pretty sure it doesn't maintain that acronym when you do the Thai.
It's just like a squiggly line with a dot. This
Yeah.
is South Korea. Why are we talking about Thai?
Yeah, right. Sorry, we're just doing Thai. Yeah. And there's also going to be a category for development and supply of mobile games, and a subcategory for exchanges and hosting services like AWS and Microsoft Azure. All in all, there's going to be 3 main categories and 10 subcategories. So there you go. Korea is solidifying their cryptocurrency industry. That's really all I had to say for Korea, but I have a good one saved for our last international
Great.
story.
That means it's in the United States for sure. I haven't even looked, but I guarantee you this is like Wisconsin or something.
Brett, look
Not
at the other.
only is it in the United States, it is in our backyard, Florida.
Oh my God, we didn't even get out of Florida.
What do you mean?
Look.
Florida is an exotic location, Brent. Okay?
Look.
People vacation in Florida. Florida's in the world. Okay? We have listeners. You know who's listening to us right now? People in Australia. I see you, my man. You guys know who I'm talking about. In India. All right? We got the guy in Wyoming over there. He's like,
The
whoa,
single guy.
Florida.
We need to have him on the show one day.
Yeah.
Wyoming
So,
person,
anyway.
hit us up.
International news, guys. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about what's happening in Florida? Mike, you want to transition?
You seem so excited, and I know you love to go down the rabbit hole of your local politics. So I'm just excited here. And it says the CFO is advocating the creation for a government post overseeing crypto. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so, okay, heads up. I'm going to disappoint you because my excitement is coming exclusively from my ability to put Florida in the international section to tilt Brett.
As I scroll down, okay, look,
wait.
we have our outline. I scrolled down after he started saying that. It's capitalized, underlined, and it's bigger than all of the other words. Florida.
Okay, but still pretty cool. So it turns out, first of all, that Florida has a CFO. Did you guys know about that? Did you hear about that?
But no, Jerry, I didn't.
Yeah, so the Florida has a CFO. And his
Where's
name-
Florida, by the way?
It's in the southern coast of the United States, Michael. It's in the Gulf. So anyway, the guy's name, also awesome, is Jimmy Patronus. So obviously he won the election for whatever this is, if it's an election.
El Patron.
But El Patron, right? And Patronus, it works out perfect. So anyway, he's urging lawmakers to post tasked with overseeing the state cryptocurrency industry. So he started the Cryptocurrency Oversight Initiative, and the bill is already getting support from the Senate president of the Senate of Florida, of course. And Jimmy Patronus, the CFO, has said that, quote, I have directed my office to create a position that will oversee how current securities and insurance laws apply to initial coin offerings and cryptocurrencies, as well as shape the future of these regulations in our statutes, in our state. And then he had this line. He almost seemed kind of frustrated that this happened. Quote, the Alabama Securities Commission recently sent a cease and desist order to Platinum Coin from Miami to prohibit the company from issuing securities within Alabama. Other states have identified and are taking action against the bad actors in the cryptocurrency industry. Florida must also protect our residents. So we might actually have a position in the state of Florida called cryptocurrency chief or cryptocurrency person who oversees that. It'll probably have a title, but that's the story.
Two things. One, interestingly, it's called Platinum Coin, which to me, this is from Miami, this could be affiliated with Pure Platinum. And Pure Platinum is a great establishment. It's been in the Miami area for a very long time. You can Google it if you're interested. So I don't know why they're hurting.
Not suitable for work.
What is it called?
Pure Platinum.
Okay. I mean, I already know.
Give the verbal play-by-play on the website.
I don't even have to. Okay, so the top result, Pure Platinum Gentlemen's Club stripped in auction. Wow.
It's gone.
A great establishment, Brent. He's got two out of 5-star reviews over here.
Okay, maybe they shouldn't have
$3 specials.
Brent's probably the reason they're out of business.
I don't think I ever set foot in there. They were directly next to Solid Gold, which, if you're choosing between the two, which one sounds cooler? I don't know.
Okay, yeah. So a quick browse through their Twitter page shows
We're really doing our research.
Yeah, we can cut this one out of the actual podcast, but
as you guys know, it is my job to do the in-depth research. So I'm just doing.
All right, guys.
My
I'm just
here.
fascinated that the Alabama Securities Commission had anything to say about a cryptocurrency. What?
Yeah,
man. Alabama's the real deal.
That's good. So I will also say that I have an in with the Florida DBPR, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. I don't know if they're going to be related, but if this person knows people, and maybe I might be the person who's making these decisions for Florida. You never know. I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. I'll campaign. Y'all can help me out. We can get I don't think this is an elected position, but you can pretend like you're voting for me, and it'll be good.
Yes, definitely.
So Kareem, is there anything
vote.
you want to talk about?
No, I'm happy to be back for the flagship. Happy to be back on the CryptoBasic ship. And
is it going to be nothing but nonsense the rest of the way?
Wait, we need mail. So I know there are mailbag questions. They're not on here. I forgot about them. I know there's one that you pasted in there, Mike. You pasted it in the wrong section.
I wrote it in there.
It was a question that it was a good question. There were a couple of good questions in there, and I can't, because of the way I'm recording this, I can't pull it up. So you put yours in the mailbag lyrics suggestion for some reason, and then there's also the mailbag section.
Mailbag. Oh, okay.
Oh, no, I think that was a question for me. Are you talking about the mailbag question?
I put it in the wrong section, Kareem. You probably think it's the right section.
Okay. The part about the fireside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's ask that question.
That's not the right mailbag.
Okay.
There's another mailbag section that is we can delete the lyrics because we already chose our lyrics, but since we're talking about the mailbag section, I might as well. Yeah. CryptoBasic. Flagship Friday. You listen to the mailbag drop, where we break down a member's thoughts. Just starting crypto, don't you stop. Keep listening till you hit the spot. Woo!
Are we talking about the one about smart contracts, Brent?
I just remember seeing a good question in my head. I wanted to tag it. I can't remember what it is, and I forgot to put it on there. But it was days ago, so I don't. There was a very reasonable good question that could have been asked in there.
Did it involve Jimmy Song and smart contract?
Well, ask it. Let's see if that might have been it.
No,
I see it right here. All right, it says I gotta move my stuff.
Sorry, video watchers. This would normally just be edited out, and you wouldn't know.
Hey guys, love the podcast. Curious as to your thoughts regarding Jimmy Song's Medium article, "The Truth About Smart Contracts." He basically argues that smart contracts are impossible to enforce in a trustless way because of the Oracle problem. There needs to be a link from the digital to the physical world. Real estate smart contracts are useless unless there is a third party to enforce, prove ownership, and so you still need to trust a centralized authority.
Yeah, we talked about this on the last.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Brett, I think the other,
Sorry.
no, I got it right here. All right, it says it's from Ghost Poll. I don't know how to code, but I'd like to add some value to the crypto space. What are some of the things I could do to contribute that do not involve journalism or shilling? And I actually responded and said that I love this question. And the first person that comes to me is Brian, the interview with Brian Dorian that we did from Pivx, where he basically, like, when we were talking to him either just before recording or at the beginning of that recording, I don't remember if it made it on air or not, but basically he said, like, I didn't know where I fit in. And his point was, I didn't know how it's going to get involved, but he was passionate about it. And I'll be fully honest, I was in the exact same situation that you are. I didn't have any idea how I was going to get involved, but I just kept keeping my ear to the ground. I just kept trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I just kept meeting people. I kept learning. And through that time, I've also been kind of learning about what my skills are as a person a little more. And, you know, we had this crazy idea for a podcast, and now, you know, it's growing and great. So what I recommend is just keep surrounding yourself with the crypto people that you respect. Try to find something that you can visualize yourself doing over time and be patient with it. You have to be passionate about it or you're going to regret it later on.
So all of that is awesome. That was very broad, but he's right. Like, those are all great things just in general in life, like crypto or anything. Specific to crypto, I think one of the big problems in the space is education. And you don't need to know a whole lot more than your average person to educate them, because most of the people that you come into contact with in your daily life aren't going to know anything about cryptocurrency. So if you go out of your way to maybe go speak at a meetup or go, you know, teach grandma how to use crypto or what it is, or paraphrase how a blockchain works, if you understand those things and can help somebody else out and get them going in the right direction, I think education is the biggest hurdle that mass adoption is facing, and that would be a really helpful way, especially if you ended up, you know, journalism and shilling. Bad, don't do either one of those. We suck at both. But if you were to, like, make a video to show your family on how to, like, make a transfer or something, don't put any information in that video that would get you caught, or not caught, but like hacked.
Hey, listen, I think that the number one thing that people that are passionate about crypto and they feel a little lost, I think you just need to stay focused on your own education. And that's kind of how this podcast started. Is our best form of learning is brainstorming, discussing. Kareem does a little bit better on the research end. And, you know, we're learning all this together, and that's just where we've decided. So I think everybody should just, if you're passionate about this long term, if you just keep your ear to the ground, learn what you can, you'll find some place. I think it's going to take over the world. I really do. I think there's going to be something for everybody eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really add that much more to what these guys just mentioned, but, you know, the general vibe that I've gotten from a lot of the people that we've been able to interview or watching their interviews on other shows is that most of these projects operate like regular businesses. So they have coders, but the world isn't split into two categories of just the coders and the non-coders. What you do is you have coders, you have a marketing team, you have a public relation team, you have, you know, all kinds of community-driven or real jobs. So just ask yourself the question, everybody's in different situations. Like, some people really want to shift their careers and they want to do it in this field. So maybe somebody who is just in PR or marketing just wants to do it in this field. Well, then start applying in the field and look around and make those connections. Maybe it's just something you just want to do more in your own time, like the three of us do with this podcast, and you know, play by ear. But basically, it's a really big space with a lot of opportunities out there, a lot of different projects trying to achieve different things. So find something you like and dedicate time to it.
I knew there was a good question. That was a great question.
No, and I made sure to respond that this is a great question, so there's no chance we'd miss it, and we still almost missed it. All right, but Kareem, I did want to ask you a question, and I did write it in here. I'll find it real quick. Basically, my question for you was, you've done 2 fireside chats now. We released the second one recently. I listened to it. I enjoyed it. Brett and I had no part in assisting with that as far as I know. I know I didn't. But it's something you did entirely on your own, and they came out Very, very, very awesome. But basically, in that research, like, was there anything that really surprised you, stood out to you, or is there anything that like changed your mind, or is there anything you learned from that really stood out to you through those two processes?
Oh man, that's interesting. I guess one example I could use just because it's top of my head, but maybe if I had a chance to think about it. But sometimes when you're doing a show like that, the worst situation that you face is that if you dig deep enough, a lot of the good stories turn out to be not 100% accurate. Like you'll come across a story that you're just like, wow, this is amazing, I have to include this in there. And then you dig deeper and it's like a misconception or something. So one particular example that I definitely wanted to include, it would have been on the second part, but it's not going to be included. But there's this great story that has become like a legend with the Brits when they were trying to crack Enigma. There was a guy who was there supposedly by accident because basically the thing that he does, it sounds like it's a code breaker. The word sounds almost exactly the same, but it actually means somebody who studies barnacles or sponges. So there's this whole story about how he became a part of this team by accident because the person who read the title didn't know what it actually did. And then it just turns out that he's like, oh, I don't know how to crack codes and stuff like that. So he's sitting there not being able to contribute. And wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden they find this sunken German U-boat has a list of codes that they use for the Enigma machine. And it's completely ruined. It's soaked. It's wet. And boom, comes out this guy who studied sea creatures and sea sponges, and he knows the perfect sponge to do. So he calls the museum and gets a sample of this like specific thing that they use to dry up all the parchment, and they save it. And his contribution basically plays a major role in the cracking of Enigma. So it's an amazing story, but it turns out the whole part about the typo is not true. The reason he was there is because he was one of England's best linguists. He worked at a museum, and on top of knowing everything about sponges, he knew like 15 languages. So once they would translate, he would help them with like the tough words in German. And as a joke, since the thing rhymed with like whatever the word is for codebreaker, they started telling that joke internally later that he got hired as a typo. And once everybody passed away, it became like a true legend, and you find it all over the internet. And I had to dig really deep to find out, oh, no, it's not true. And then, like, have to pass. So sometimes some of the interesting stuff is, unfortunately, stuff you have to pass on because it doesn't meet historical muster.
Cool answer. That was exactly what we were looking for.
Did he get, like, a name in, like you would call somebody the bandit of London? Was he referred to as, like, SpongeBob?
And I don't think
I'm glad that we have YouTube now because like that was gold, man. I'm gonna give you props for that one. I'm glad we got that live and recorded the whole time. Bravo!
All right,
he had that in the holster for a while. He was waiting.
I am proud of you for that one. By the way, the guy's name was Jeffrey Tandy, and his position was I think it's one of those things where I'm making you guys wait. So you can close it up. I'll hit you in just a second with what the word confusion was. Oh, he was a cryptogamist. Cryptogamist is an expert in non-flowering spore-reproducing plants like seaweeds, mosses, and ferns. So this cryptogamist, the legend goes, was hired because somebody saw that and was like, oh my God, this guy's like an extra cryptogamist. He's great. He's perfect. And they gave him the invite.
Interesting stuff. Brent, you got any rants?
No, I don't have anything off the top of my head, man.
Mike, do you have a rant?
I mean, look, Kareem, I asked him to do me a slight little favor and put on the outline. He like very appropriately added general first world problems ... after my rant topic. But
just to be clear, because Mike hasn't gotten to the computer yet, and we're about to start recording, and he's, hey, I need you to add to the rant section WSOP. No, Vegas or resort fees, and I'm just like, wow, it all sounds really. I'm gonna make sure I put that on the rant.
This is gonna
section.
be some enthralling journalism here.
No, man. Look, I love poker. I love the World Series. I still am in the main event currently. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, I still am as well. But I get so frustrated that every year that I come out here, it's just a new major thing that they're trying to squeeze every little dollar out of you. And it's getting like so unbearable right now. Like, I stayed at the Venetian and there was the only way you could get internet in the rooms was to pay $20 a day, and the rooms are in a tower that's so large that my phone had no service. There was no plug-in internet option, so it was either have no connection to internet or pay $20 a day, and it only lasted for 24 hours, and it's only for one device. So I had 3 days of hotel where I had to pay $20 a day to use my computer, and I chose not to use my phone. Because I just didn't feel the need to pay all this extra money. And it's just like every year I just feel like it's a new thing, and it's just generally frustrating. That was my general Vegas frustration.
You know, when the last time I stayed at the Venetian was in response to a nickel and diming situation. I don't want to one up your situation. This is like another problem. At the Venetian, which have the nicest rooms, but they really do try to just kind of nickel and dime you. And I lost my cell phone in a cab on the way to Vegas. So I got there and I had no cell phone, and I was going to be there for a few days. I was trying to track down my phone, make sure I had it, because I knew somebody had picked it up at the cab store. I wanted to make sure it was there and everything was good. And I made a few phone calls. I was using the Venetian phone to make phone calls back home, which I knew was going to cost money because it's a long distance phone call, and this is like 8 years ago or something, and maybe even longer. And I made maybe a total of 10 calls. And then my roommate, who had put his card on the room, is like, dude, they just told me that my card was declined. I had a decent amount of money on that card. What did you put on the room? And I was like, I put like a meal. And he's like, well, how much was the meal? I was like, $60. He's like, what? So how much do you think a phone call was in Las Vegas? Call it a 3-minute phone call from Las Vegas to Florida.
I'm going to say that the flat rate was like $8, and then they charged you some ridiculous $3. So it came out like $19 for that phone.
So no, I'm taking the way over. I bet this bill ends up being like $400.
So Kareem was kind of on the right. He said it was $8 for the phone call to initialize. But it's also going to be like
$1 a minute or something.
It was $14 to initiate the phone call, and then it was $1 a minute on top of that. I never in a million years did I believe that could have possibly.
So the 3-minute phone call was $17?
Yes. Yeah, dude, it was obnoxious, but luckily the end of that story was I went and complained to the right people and ended up with a credit. So I went to the casino host and cried to him first, and then he gave me like a $200 credit to take care of those phone calls, even though he couldn't take them off my account. Then I went to the front desk person who I knew couldn't see that the manager had just given me a credit or that the host had just given me a credit. Went to the front desk girl, threw her a $20 tip, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to tell you the story. Told the story, and then she took all the calls off. So, but it still left a sour taste in my mouth, even though I got it.
By the way, absolute best advice Brent's ever given me in life, not close. Every time you're checking into a hotel, you give them a $20 bill in Vegas, and suddenly all of your problems go away, no matter what they are. Anytime you have a problem, just start the conversation with a $20 bill behind your. If you're checking in, I do my driver's license, my credit card, and then the $20 bill folded up underneath it, and I just hand all three at once. And they they like slide the 20 underneath, like catch a glimpse of it and like put it away sneaky. Like they're so pros, man. But like you get awesome room upgrades, you get view upgrades, like whatever they can do to hook you up, they will.
Extra tip though, this trick only works with dollars. I tried it with 10,000 pesos and I just got a weird look.
And then as far as the World Series goes, I did play the main event. It's gone well so far, but like you guys have both been shift or poker room, like management at poker room, right? You guys were both
at the same poker
on the floor at Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are familiar with the way the tournaments are ran and just the kind of stuff that the listeners are going to be way, just not familiar with, and most pros are not, they don't pay attention to the little details of the casino, but they moved the quote unquote the dinner break yesterday, which for years, all the prestigious events, they usually average about 65 prestigious events per year where they give a big bracelet away. It's a huge achievement. All of these events have had 90-minute dinner breaks, usually from like you'll start somewhere around 11 or 12 in the morning. You'll get a dinner break at like 6:30 to 8 o'clock, about 90 minutes, and then you'll play like 4 more hours after that, and then you'll go home. And if the tournament's still going on, though, you'll come back the next day. Well, so now because ESPN2 is doing a lot of filming and they're doing a couple feature tables a day, they've moved the dinner breaks up to
that's why
3:30.
That must mean that the coverage needed to be like past that on ESPN. I was wondering, until you just said that, it didn't make any sense to me that they would put the dinner break at 3 p.m. when nobody is eating dinner ever in the history of mankind. So that makes
I just think this is like one of the worst. It's just, in my opinion, it's one of the worst ways to make this adjustment. I would much rather see, usually have 20-minute breaks with a 90-minute break. I would much rather see just all 30-minute breaks where you can fend for yourself. You can eat whenever. It's not that hard to get quick food on the run and people can be prepared. I would much rather just, like 60 minutes isn't enough to go out for dinner. So like 60, it's also 4,000 people are leaving the exact same time. It takes about 10 minutes to get out to your car and, just get out of the parking lot. And then by the time you get there, try to eat something and get back in an hour. It's just not enough time. So you start with 50,000 chips in the tournament. I had a guy sit at my table with a green 25K chip in his starting stack, while they also have green 25 units in play.
Ooh,
and to
really
me,
bad.
This is just like an absolute cardinal sin as a poker room. Like, there's absolutely no scenario where you should introduce chips into play that are so large that they have to share a color with the smallest chip in play. And the fact that, amateurs make this mistake all the time. They might be trying to put out like 750, but if they have a 25K green chip, they might accidentally put out like 25,725 by mistake, just having the wrong chip. This happens all the time in live poker. And, it's a very difficult situation. And, I just think that it's such an easy fix that I just don't see the reasons.
So I'll tell you the reason. The reason is they had more people on that flight than they've ever had in a flight before. So they ran out of chips. Like I got I still get the press emails from the World Series Poker, even though I didn't go there to get my pass this year. And they broke a record for single flight entries. So they screwed up and they didn't have enough chips ready, and they had to start introducing 25K chips. That was probably a last resort. That there's not really an excuse for that. When you are the biggest event in poker, you need to not have that be an option.
This is literally the equivalent of like having shitty footballs at the Super Bowl. Like, it's just like unbelievable. They profit. There's over 7,400 entrants in this tournament. They take personally, like, I think $300 as house fees from every single one of those person to pay for this event. Like, the money is just flowing. This is their big deal. Like, this is the only reason why the Rio Hotel hasn't been burned to the ground yet.
And as far as the timing of the breaks, here's what actually happened. It was on 4th of July this year, and they needed to have Joey Chestnut smash everybody's face in the hot dog eating contest before poker. Like, literally, I promise you that they had to build all 3 of the dinner breaks at the same time, and there was no way they were getting rid of Nathan's hot dog eating contest, so they had to move it around that. I that's got to be it.
Your brain fascinates me sometimes.
I'm just being real. They wanted it on the same ESPN flagship, so it's got it, dude. It's the hot dog eating contest is big. I love food. But I would never do it, but anyway, those are my two arguments. Bad. It's bad both ways, but why we just spent 20 minutes on poker on a crypto podcast, but it's okay because the crypto community has a piece of you as long as they went to cryptobasicpodcast.com/WSOP to enter the contest.
That is right. And a lot of you have entered so far. I appreciate it. We love. Hopefully we get a really good sweat out of this. I mean, obviously I would enjoy that. The listeners would enjoy that. Let's go, guys.
Yeah, you don't have to remember that link. Just go ahead and go in this show notes. It's under Mike WSOP giveaway. Just make sure you click on that. Super easy to use, super easy to follow. Brian, give us an idea here. Best case scenario, Mike goes all the way. What kind of money could this be worth, this giveaway?
If Mike gets first place in this tournament, which is very difficult, but it can be done, $88,000 will be given away to 10 different people. So it'll be $8,800 per person that is winning this drawing.
$1,000.
So, like, hypothetically, let's say, I don't know, there's probably like 4,000 people left in the main event. There's a 1 in 4,000 chance that we're going to give away $88,000. Yeah. I'll take our chances.
I mean,
and there's also a lot of other prize money along the way. They're paying over 1,000 spots. So, it's more than likely, 1 in 4 shot that somebody's going to get at least $150.
At current market prices, with $88,000, you could get over 160,000 BitConnect tokens. I just want you to.
Yeah, but how much Verge is that?
Actually, you know what would be a good one though? I want to see $88,000. Okay, 88 divided by. Guys, this giveaway could be worth 14 Bitcoin.
Ooh,
14 Bitcoin. All right, just to put it into perspective, right now you're listening to this. The guys
There's
are
a 1 in 4,000 shot of that we're going to give away 14 Bitcoin.
Best case scenario for clicking a few buttons, you could win 14 Bitcoin. Yeah. So do the deed, make it happen. Mike, you go win the tournament. Just handle that part. That's the easy part. We'll take care of people clicking buttons. All right.
And for anybody who wants to follow along and check up on me, I'm going to be blogging inside our Discord server. There's a special channel called WSP Sweat Thread. It's going to be kind of a nonsense. There's going to be some like off-topic chatter probably, but I'm just going to put whatever WSP thoughts I have in there, including any relevant stack updates, any big hands that I feel are noteworthy. And I'm also pretty notorious for sharing hands that I butcher with my friends because I have no shame. So if you want to watch somebody have a chance of melting down as well, that is a perfect place for you.
And if you want to see what poker players talk like, it's kind of a weird lingo. Get in there and see all the weird.
And don't be afraid to ask questions. I am going to abbreviate a lot of things, and I'm going to use the lingo that I'm used to, shorthand that I'm used to. Feel free to ask questions. I don't expect anybody to understand fully, but it's almost like my form of cryptography and storytelling in poker is just written in a certain way.
And Mike, what's the rule about getting a good night's sleep before you play a major tournament?
That rule is completely irrelevant when you're in the Pacific time zone, because as soon as 8:30 hits the clock, no matter what time I've been to sleep, I am awake and I am not going back to sleep.
Oh, so, gotcha. All right,
I tested this the second straight night. I went to bed at 4:30. I was up at 8:30 with absolutely no ability to go back to sleep.
All right.
I felt great. I actually had a great day.
I was actually trying to pin this on you, but the reality is I need to early to edit this episode so we can get it out of the so I think
all right,
it's time to
so
wrap it up.
For the Crypto Basic Podcast, my name is Mike. I was here with Brent and Kareem. Thanks again for
the members of the Crypto Basic Podcast are not financial advisors. One of them's a poker baller shooting $4 million. The other one's a clown, and the other one is brown.
And he needs to sleep. I'm trying to be more mindful, man.
Oh.
No.
Good
we're
work, guys.
No. Yeah, we're way good. That was
right.
not complaining.
Great first YouTube video. Awesome. Good job. All right. I'm going to stop it now.